Well, hello everybody, and I'm back, though you may not be aware of this, after a break. The longest break I've ever had, the longest break I've ever had since taking care of PNHQ. From Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then today. I've been on holiday with the family, a family holiday to Wales, which turned into more of an exploring Wales holiday. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I just want to talk about how amazed I am by this car and how well it's actually done. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with the thing. This car has lugged me, 4 people, a dog and a boot absolutely loaded with stuff, plus a full tank of fuel, which probably weighed about 70 kilos. The smoothest road surfaces in Great Britain that I've ever discovered have been around Wales. Not so much in the towns, but the roads that connect them, where you can go at decent speeds. And you can go along at decent speeds with the car floating along rather than bouncing along. That is most certainly a novelty. I don't know what the complete mileage I did over the weekend was, because I forgot to make a note as I first filled it up. But I did have to fill the tank up again. Well, I didn't have to do actually, but I chose to fill the tank up again in Anglesey. And this was what the mileage was reading at the time with a full tank. And now I'm back home, this is what it's reading now. So 160 miles, I went from Anglesey to Beaumaris and Anglesey, back into Wales, to the Great Orme, around the Great Orme twice, and then dropped off at Colwyn Bay, and then came home. And the range after all that was 1,060 miles still to go. That's dropped quite a bit now because of starting the car up from cold and just driving it in your usual conditions. No lovely straight run doing a consistent 60 miles per hour. But how is that even possible? I mean, it's just brilliant. I've got home from Anglesey, still doing a bit more exploring around Wales, and I've still got almost a full tank of fuel. That would suggest a 1/16th of a tank of fuel has gone. The car has just driven perfectly. It's given me no issues whatsoever. This was built for doing this kind of trip, and I'm so glad I've got the car. And for all of the Rover lovers that we have here, I was considering originally taking Mrs. Doyle, but a couple of things put me off of that. 3 things, in fact. One is fuel consumption, because being a 1.6 D series petrol engine, it would use probably, I reckon, twice the amount of fuel that this would. And the other is safety. You got your whole family in the car. The big Volvo is definitely designed with falling off the road in mind. I have come to the conclusion that this Volvo V70 D5 is the best car that I have ever had. I don't see how any other car that I've ever had could have quite matched what this has managed to do in the past 1,000 miles. And that's just over this weekend.
Now then, let's sit back a week to where something rather marvellous happened in the form of a gift.
Normally, anything unboxing I will do on the other channel, because that's more like the kind of thing. But this item that I've had sent to me is for the Volvo, which means it is relevant to this channel anyway. So I need to open it up and inspect. I know what it is though. Go on. Lots of albino sugar puffs. Oversized sugar puffs, of course. Tasty. Right. We have, in here, a rear wiper motor for the Volvo. And then we have another rear wiper motor for the Volvo. And then we have Another rear wiper motor for the Volvo. Why three? I only have one Volvo. Well, the idea is that one of them will work. Now then, if I dig deeper into the albino sugar puffs, I will find rear brake shoes. Worthwhile hanging on to those. I don't need them yet, but at some point I will. Time to test it.
He's the real deal. He can take her to a place right now where they sell the best tamales in town.
That works. Lovely. There's one occasion where I will allow eating in the car, and that's kind of road trippery malarkey, and that's exactly what's been going on. Now, of course, I am very careful when it comes to not spilling stuff everywhere, but other people aren't, especially younger people. So I need to give this car some respect and give it a bit of a clean up. Like it or not, that's what's going to happen next. We can expect to find the boot full of things that need reorganising, a carpet that needs vacuuming due to sand, bottles, chargers, bits of things in the door pockets, etc. And in the back, even worse. It's quite a lot of biscuit crumbs to clear up there, and some milk, which has been out of the fridge since 10 o'clock yesterday morning. That's nearly 28 hours. Now, of course, dairy products, it's recommended half an hour out of the fridge, throw away. But I've come back to work and the milk that I did have left in the fridge has gone off. So, will this still be okay? Perfect. There's your answer. It's just at this point when I've finished vacuuming out the back, the vacuum cleaner decides to stop working. Anyway, time to give this stuff a go. Much better cleaned and leather conditioned as well, although these marks that have clearly been left by some spare wheels being put in the back are still there. Better in the front. Pity I can't vacuum anymore. That means I can't vacuum the dog's bed either. One slight point of confusion to be curious about is alloy wheel covered in brake dust, as you'd expect. This side covered in brake dust, as you'd expect. The back covered in a lot more brake dust, as you wouldn't expect, unless the rear pads are made of softer material. I don't know why that's happened. Before I go on to the next little task with this car, I now have another cup of tea with some milk that's been sat in the car for 28 hours. I'm going to show you something really satisfying to do with your old bottle of milk. Well, this was the one previous that I forgot to throw away. As you can see, 10th of June. It had about that much milk in it and I've topped it up with water. It stinks, but watch this. The most satisfying thing to do with your old bottle of milk. Can you tell what I'm going to do? That's so childish, but I really don't care. I've been done way over 1,000 miles in the V70 now. I think I can come to the conclusion that there are only two things that I can say I'm not entirely keen with. Besides, obviously, a few bits of quality issues here and there. But the first one is this. The first one is the turning circle. It is horrendous. The amount of space you need to just turn around. I took it in the multi-storey car park in Bury, and at one stage I found myself having to take the turn and then back up a little bit just to get around, just to negotiate the car park. The other is actually the trip computer. Now, no, it's going to be not entirely accurate, but I think it might be really rather inaccurate. It's currently reading 935 miles to an empty tank. I don't think it can do that. I really don't. And I would actually really enjoy doing a challenge of putting this to the test, because there's no way it's going to do that because of the use it's getting at the moment. From here on for a little while, it's just going to be doing short journeys back and forth to the shops, etc. So I could probably halve that, having filled the tank to the top in Anglesey, then went off to Beaumaris, came back over the Menai Bridge, and then on to Llandudno, where we went up the Great Orme, and then around Marine Drive, and then back up the Orme again. And from there, back along the A55, where we got to Ross on Wye, I think it was, and played around on the beach, then set off again, got home. On the M60, only about 10 miles before we got home, this to empty tank reading was saying 1,160 miles to an empty tank, having done nearly 100 miles since filling it up. I can't see that it can do anywhere near that, but I also don't really quite get how it can be that far wrong. Still, we get to this point where I'm going to declare the Volvo V70 D5 the perfect family car, and the car that currently I intend on keeping forever. One more thing, I think with this potential to do 1,000 miles on one tank, it needs to be tested, and I've got this little idea whirling round in my head, and I'm going to come to that exactly what I'm thinking very, very soon. I need to do something really very exciting and experimental. I want to put to the test the possibility of this very car being able to do 1,000 miles on a single tank of fuel. I think that's going to be a worthy video. It's not a bit expensive to make. In fact, part of the challenge is to do it in one day. I want to set off set off in the car at 4 o'clock in the morning and head north, where I will beat the rush hour traffic, and by the time the rush hour traffic's starting to happen, I'll be away from anywhere where there's any rush hour. I'll be away from anywhere where there's any possibility of any rush hour traffic anyway, because I'll be too far north. I want to go to Scotland. I could go to Scotland and back, and it would probably only be about 500 miles. So that's not really enough, unless I did it twice. But you don't want to do something twice, you want to do something once. So I'm going to go much further afield and go somewhere I find really rather fascinating, and that is the Isle of Skye. I've never been anywhere near that part of Scotland in my life, so that in itself would be just the most fantastic, wonderful trip that I could video. And just, we all know that there are loads of mountains in Scotland, but you've got to see them for yourself. To Skye, from here to Skye, which is about 450 miles, a drive around the island, have a nap, and then set off back. I want to be there and back on the same day. 1,000 miles, one day, one tank of fuel. Who's with me on this? Who's with me indeed? Hopefully somebody, because I'm thinking I could do with a sponsor or sponsors. Anyone that wants to have a really big shout out, a really huge pat on the back. A huge pat on the back for their contribution in making this rather exciting video happen. Just let me know, just email, just message me, just whatever it is you can do.